The question is, as on the order papers, many of that opinion say aye.
Aye.
Of the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Point of order, Paula Barker.
Deputy Speaker. Mr Deputy Speaker, Yulia and her daughter Daria...
And it goes through. Let's speak to our Deputy Political Editor, Sam Coates, who's standing by in Central Lobby. Sam, what happens now?
Well, it's been a very long 4 hours. The Commons have just on the nod, which means agreed without a vote, that Boris Johnson will now face a third inquiry. This one will be held by a committee called the Privileges Committee. It's got 4 Tories, 1 Labour and 1 SNP member on it. And that inquiry, which won't take place for several weeks until after the police have concluded their work and Sue Gray has included hers, will look at whether or not Boris Johnson lied to Parliament. There's a list of different things the Prime Minister said in the last few weeks and months about whether or not rules were broken at the heart of government during the pandemic. Now a committee of MPs will judge whether or not what he said then amounts to a lie. Of course, if you knowingly mislead Parliament, according to the ministerial guidebooks, you have to resign. But really, Sarah Jane, the significance of today is a little bit more in what didn't happen as much as what did. That's because, as recently as 8 o'clock last night, the Conservatives wanted to fight this attempt to have a third inquiry into Boris Johnson. But when the Tory whips looked around this morning before that debate began at 11:30, they sniffed the wind, talked to colleagues, took the temperature and realised that if they put the attempt to block this third investigation to the vote, then there simply might not be enough Tories coming through behind ministers in the lobbies to defend the Prime Minister at this time. Far too many people, they worried, would give the impression of sitting in their hands waiting to see how this was going to play out. And it was that unwillingness of Tory MPs, we all believe, Tory MPs believe, meant that the government pulled their attempt to block this third probe, and that's why it's going ahead. And that was all before 11:30. Once the debate actually was underway, you heard a couple of quite significant interventions from Tory MPs. William Ragg, the Tory Select Committee chair, and then Steve Baker became the 15th and 16th people inside the Conservative Parliamentary Party to say that Boris Johnson can't take them into the next election. Steve Baker, a prominent figure, played a big role defenestrating Theresa May, Boris Johnson's predecessor, saying that Boris Johnson should go now. Steve Baker backed Boris Johnson on Tuesday, so that's quite a rapid U-turn. And his U-turn reflects a broader, more worrying, I think, change in the mood, slight change in the mood, attitude amongst Tory MPs towards Boris Johnson. I've been talking this afternoon to Tory MPs from across the party, from the One Nation more moderate wing through to those on the Tory right, and they all agree Boris Johnson's position through the events of today is weaker than it was just 48 hours ago when he gave that statement to Parliament defending the fact that he'd been fined by the police for breaking the rules on the 19th of June 2020. And I think that there's this sense of some of the authority, some of the power, some of the support in the Prime Minister amongst Tory MPs, who, as he keeps saying, are the judge, jury and executioner of a Tory Prime Minister. Some of that support has waned. Now, it's too early to say what will happen. It's too early to call time on Boris Johnson's premiership. The one conclusion I think we can draw from today in Downing Street's unwillingness to push to a fight this business of a third inquiry is that they are just worried about what Tory MPs really actually think about what Boris Johnson did.
OK, Sam, thank you. That update, the motion by Labour to see the Prime Minister go before a committee, a standards committee, has been nodded through. There wasn't a vote, it has gone through. More on that throughout the day here on Sky News.